In the second to last podcast, I want to talk about weather, climate, and El Nino. So how does El Nino affect weather and climate? So that's what we want to focus in on today. Woo! All right, so weather, climate, and El Nino. Well, first of all, let's define a few terms. Weather is the atmospheric conditions at a particular time, day to day. So this is daily weather, things that happen to the climate, not the climate, to the atmospheric conditions. Contrast that with climate. Climate is the long-term average of weather in a particular region of the Earth over years, decades, or centuries. So, what is the general climate of a particular area? And so we'll learn about the different climate zones and things like that. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's learn about the different climatic zones and the difference between climate and weather in a quick little video clip.
Okay guys, let's talk about weather. Basically, weather is the daily condition of the Earth's atmosphere. Weather is produced by the interaction of several factors, which include heat, air pressure, winds, and moisture. Let's briefly look at each one of those factors. Heat, transferred from the sun, is absorbed by the Earth and spread through the atmosphere. Air temperature varies from place to place because the sun's rays strike the Earth at different angles. Air pressure is the measure of the force of the air pressing down on the Earth's surface. Air pressure depends on the density of the air. Denser air exerts more pressure than less dense air. Air pressure on the Earth can vary considerably from location to location due to unequal heating of the atmosphere. These air pressure differences cause the movement of air, which we call wind. Finally, the amount of moisture in the air, called relative humidity, also influences weather. Moisture in the atmosphere condenses, causing clouds to develop and precipitation to fall to the Earth. So, have you come up with the difference between weather and climate? I said earlier that weather is the daily condition of the Earth's atmosphere. But what about climate? Well, for most of us, climate means a location is hot, cold, wet, or dry. You see, climate is the average weather conditions for a specific region over an extended period of time. The climate of any place is determined by two main factors: temperature and precipitation. The Earth is divided into three major climate zones based on the average temperature of these zones. They are the tropical, temperate, and polar zones. Can you determine what climate zone you live in? To learn more about weather and climate, check out the following NASA website.
Well, hopefully you've kind of figured out how this all works and what the difference between weather and climate. Well, the variety of scientists that study this, there's actually two. There are meteorologists, those are scientists who study the weather, and there are climatologists, scientists who study the climate. And you know the difference between weather and climate, so make sure you understand that. That leads us to a concept called the teleconnections. By the word tele means distant. So if I have a television, that means distant vision. Teleconnections is the effects of climate change in one region of the Earth they have on the climate in distant regions. And so with this concept of El Nino that we've been looking at, you have the southern equatorial ocean that has a warmer temperature, which then affects the climates of other regions on the Earth. So distant climate effects. So what are the effects of this El Nino? We know what El Nino is, but it's caused, recall here, it's caused by a change in the southern equatorial ocean, actually temperature, right? So the temperature has changed. It gets warmer when you have an El Nino year. This directly affects the climates in both South America and the South Pacific, all right? But the effects are greater. They affect the entire world. And so what I want to do is do just a couple of clips, some newsreels from these places. So recall, actually we'll do that next, recall that in an El Nino year, there is a strong countercurrent right here, and this is going to make Peru and such to be wet and troublesome, and it's going to create droughts in Australia. And so let's actually go to Australia, and as we go to Australia, let's see what happens during an El Nino year. What are the problems that the people experience there? So let's visit Australia.
More trouble is on the way with El Nino, predicted to arrive in September, bringing more hot weather. The drought and an insatiable demand for water has had a devastating impact on the environment around the Murray River. This is one example, the death of more than 70% of Australia's iconic river redgums.
It's an enormous basin, and we have about 25 internationally significant wetlands there. These are wetlands that are of crucial importance to the natural environment. They have unique species, unique ecological communities. Often they are home to many of our internationally migrant birds, and that habitat is disappearing. So it is a disaster, an environmental disaster on a national and, of course, an international scale.
Wow. So obviously very dry conditions that can cause great devastation. So let's now take a visit to Peru. And as we visit Peru, let's figure out what happens to them. Obviously it's going to have something to do with lots of extra water, isn't it? Good.
Hi there, Saturday, February the 6th, Trujillo, Peru, and this is John the Car. I'm reporting about the events of the day. Today I went to the Pisco Sour Drink National Day celebration in Peru, in Trujillo City, the place I live. Well, on my way to the Pisco Sour event, I got a chance to witness something very unusual. It has been drizzling. It's a fine rain, okay, it's not really heavy rain, but fact number one is that in Trujillo it almost never rains. On the coast of Peru it doesn't usually rain, and now it's raining. Fact number two, Trujillo City is not prepared for rains. There's no way to drain the rain in the streets. There's no drainage system. Fact number three, houses are not prepared for rains. They were not built to bear such kind of rains. Even the roofs are flat. There are many houses that they are old ones, antiques, made of adobe, the bricks made of mud. So if it rains, they melt like chocolate house. If it keeps raining in Trujillo, and if the rainfall increases, it becomes a heavy rain, it could be a disaster here, and we are not prepared. Authorities are not saying anything about this, and I'm a bit worried about Chan Chan too. Chan Chan ruins.
Obviously the devastation there could be untold. That was just kind of a precursor to some of the big floods that they would have. I couldn't find a big clip on that, but I think you did it. So what are the effects of El Nino? Well, the damages from floods and landslide caused by very high rainfall in Peru and Southern California. So you get lots of damaging mudslides, okay? This year, in fact, the winter of 2009, that's when I'm recording this, and 2010 is an El Nino year, and we keep hearing about mudslides in Peru and also in California. The local fishing industry along the affected coastline can suffer, all right? So they are probably having low fish yields. The forest fires in Indonesia have caused serious air pollution problems because it gets very dry, so you get forest fires in Indonesia. You have crop failures and sometimes famine, and even as far as South Africa. And then in the Midwest states and to the Northwest, you have warmer than average winters in there. So, and we've experienced that this year as well too. Okay. This then leads us to the idea that we can actually have a yearly weather predictions. So what they do is they actually make a prediction of the year based upon what the temperature is of the ocean. So they take a thermometer in the ocean, they find out if it's warmer than it's supposed to be, and they say, I think I know what kind of a prediction we'll have. In fact, let's get a picture of that as an effect in the United States. Let's go to California and see what they say will happen there.
El Nino is back. Forecasters expect this El Nino to get stronger over the next few months and last through the winter of 2009-2010. That typically means heavy rains and storms here in Southern California. Phil Truman says since we're in a drought, that could be a good thing.
With the hot sun and warm temperatures, it's understandable if we're not thinking about winter and storms and rain. But Bill Patzert is. As a NASA climatologist at JPL, he's tracking El Nino.
El Nino is a warming in the tropical Pacific Ocean, and for California, when it's a big El Nino, it means it's a wet winter. So we love El Nino.
And it is officially back. According to an alert sent out today by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, El Nino conditions will continue to develop and are expected to last through the winter of 2009-2010. The last El Nino here was back in the winter of 1998, so the experts say it's long overdue and very much needed. Still, this El Nino, the warm Pacific water shown here by the yellow-orange spots right in the middle of the screen, is relatively small. Compare it to the massive warm orange areas you see in the ocean from that El Nino of 11 years ago.
The great wet hope here.
Patrick calls this great wet hope El Nino Pequeño, and with tongue-in-cheek summed it up this way.
Oh, I always say hug your El Nino. We need those El Ninos because we're bone dry right now. It's so dry right now, the cows in Riverside are actually giving powdered milk.
Phil Schumann, Fox 11 News.
And my friends, that's it. A short little podcast with lots of little video clips that helps explain the effects of the El Nino. Have a great day. Bye.